trickling in, but we want to be sensitive to everyone's time, so we'll go ahead and get rolling. Welcome to the September 2024 System Business and Finance meeting. This is the first meeting of the 24-25 academic year. I hope everyone's off to a good start, and that these meetings can provide timely and useful business and finance guidance. My name is Stacy Balmas. I'm the Senior Assistant Director in the Business and Finance Policy Office. I'm filling in for Ginger Velasquez, the Executive Director for Business and Finance, who's not able to be with us today, but she will be your normal host for these meetings. So before we get started, just want to give you a few housekeeping items. You've all been placed on mute, so please type any questions you may have into the chat box. Just keeping in mind those chat questions go to everyone. We have a team reviewing the questions as they come in, and we'll try to get to them all, but if time constrains us, then we'll be sure to review any unanswered questions after the meeting ends and follow up on those as well. Again, we'll be recording our meetings and emailing each of you a link to the recording. So if you have additional questions that come up afterwards and you need to review a segment of this meeting, or if you need presenter contact information, you'll have all of that as well. And finally, as always, please feel free to reach out to me, Ginger, or Bernadette Rossmore whenever you have any questions, comments, or ideas. The University Outreach team is all here to serve you and assist you in resolving your issues. You'll find all of the contact information on the last slide of the presentation, so you can reference that at any time. We just have one announcement to begin with today. It's a reminder that the Office of the CFO is sponsoring the Business and Finance Symposium that will be offered at all 3 universities in the fall of 2024 and managed by the University Outreach Office team. The symposiums are coming up at UIS the morning of October 10th, so just a little over a week, and at UIC on the morning of October 22nd. There is still some limited seating available for both of these symposia, so if you haven't registered yet and you are interested in attending, please reach out to Bernadette or me by end of day tomorrow, Thursday, for the registration details. And we look forward to seeing many of you there in person. So first up today, we will hear from Danielle Green with updates from Procurement Services. Take it away, Danielle.
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Danielle Green. I'm the Senior Assistant Director with Procurement Services. And so today I'll just give you a couple updates about what's going on in our area. We have 3 main projects that we're spending a lot of time focusing on this fall. One is a procurement assessment consulting project where we're actually looking at all of the pieces of procurement and evaluating how to make it all work better together. The other consulting project we are working on is a software application inventory assessment. So they're taking a look at everything where we are using, interviewing different people on campus and looking how we procure IT products as far as software goes. Additionally, we are in our 3rd cohort of the Diverse Supplier Development Program, and we've recently started connecting participants with different departments on campus for potential contract opportunities. So you may see some communication from my team if we have a participant who can sell a service or a good to you and they're certified, ready to do business. So you may see information coming from us on that aspect. And then finally, we are in the 2nd phase of the...
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
My watch is talking to me. We are in the 2nd phase of the diversity dashboard phase 2 development. And what we did was we took a look at what we put out last year in the diversity dashboard that's available for use, and took our user feedback, and then we kind of implemented a few different changes, made it a little bit more of a usable product for campus. So in the next 2 months, we'll be rolling out a new version of the dashboard, along with new training. And we're really excited. The team that's been working on it has done a great job understanding the needs of campus. So we're looking forward to rolling that out. I don't have any other major updates, but if anybody has a question, I am more than happy to answer questions. If not, I'll give it back to Stacy.
John, were you going to say something? All right, I just saw the little box pop up around your name. Oh, okay. So yeah, I don't think we have anything. Thank you, Danielle. As always, we really appreciate that your office regularly takes the time to be available to this group and to provide any timely updates as they arise. Next up,
Absolutely, anytime.
thank you. Next up, we have Jeff Weaver and Magdalena Yak from Property Accounting to provide this group with a 2025 biennial inventory and equipment update. So take it away, Jeff and Magdalena.
Thanks, Stacy, and appreciate the time on the agenda today. Our agenda today, we are going to kick off and provide some very high-level content to y'all about the 2025 biennial inventory process, and we'll wrap up with a couple slides on recent and upcoming updates to system functionality as well as policy. So again, we'll start the morning with biennial kickoff. And really, this is general. I know we got some new business managers. So what is biennial inventory? Well, it's meant to be a complete physical inventory of the equipment in your unit and in your facilities. The process requires updating of records for all the tracked inventory items, and it also requires the disposal and resolution of any unfound items, whether that be needing to request disposal of those, transferring them to other units if they've left your unit, et cetera. It really is a two-step process. It's a year-long cycle in the system that we use. The first 9 months of that cycle requires certification be completed, requiring that you've completed that initial physical inventory of your facilities. You can actually certify with some limited pending unfound items, and then the system and the next step of the process is open for the final 3 months of the cycle to give you time to resolve any pending unfound items you may have certified with. So why do we do it? It's mandated that the university do this from the State Property Control Act. If you're not aware, equipment is highly regulated and highly audited. And the process itself brings some benefits to your unit regardless. Allows you to update those records in an efficient way. With any exceptions you find, you may identify some process problems currently in your unit. And certainly if you have unfound items, these could be potential red flags for theft or fraud that you may need to further investigate. Bernadette, if you could move that along. So again, I mentioned the university is highly audited and by 3 external audit teams on an annual basis. Just wanted to share, we have a financial statement audit, a state compliance audit, and what they call the single audit. And those all have different focuses, with the financial statement audit being focused on capitalized assets, the state compliance audit being focused on state requirements for the records and all the mandates required of state agencies. And then the single audit is really focused on federal regulations and equipment bought on grant funds. So as you can see here, I wanted to present some of the recurring audit findings that the university receives. In our fiscal year 23 audit, which was our last completed audit, we're right now going through the 24 audit cycle. But the 23 audit's complete. And the bad news was that from a equipment perspective, we had a material audit finding in equipment last year. And it was called material because the volume and the dollar value of our equipment that wasn't found during the audit was significant enough, over $1 million, to reach the auditor's materiality threshold. So it's a serious issue, and we want to do as good as we can in this process, right? So just some recurring audit findings, equipment on inventory not found, equipment found, but there's no physical P-tag label affixed to the item. There's equipment found, but not on inventory, which can happen if you're not account coding those purchases correctly or adding those items that may have been transferred in from researchers or other avenues. Another common recurring finding is location codes and other data on the record aren't up to date and accurate. Equipment on loan to staff not being recorded and documented. New acquisition records, new property not being completed and added to the inventory timely greater than 90 days from the date of purchase. And equipment trade-ins not being documented and completed timely, which we'll talk a little bit more in upcoming policies. So if you can advance that. I guess I did want to note the biennial inventory is really an important internal control procedure designed to keep the university equipment records up to date and accurate. And with that overview, I'll pass it off to Magdalena to discuss some more details about the biennial inventory process.
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm gonna jump right into the biennial inventory due dates. So as you can see for Chicago, the certification due date is March 31st. On that day, all the units should be in the certified status. June 30th is the pending resolution due date. So if any units have certified with pending items, all those pending unfound items should be resolved by June 30th, and the status of your unit should reflect as completed in biennial inventory. Our biennial inventory system sends automatic emails to unit contacts and unit heads, so you know that you are in progress and you know the due dates. And finally, this is the last opportunity for Chicago units to replace their P tags of equipment that fell off banner due to the latest threshold update. So as you know, we don't track in banner anything under $2,500. That was our latest threshold update. And for Chicago, this is the last cycle when you should be replacing those stickers. So please pay attention to that. And if you find any property P tags that are not active in banner that are disposed, they need to be taken off or covered with the property of University of Illinois State of Illinois stickers. Bernadette, if we can move on to the next slide. And as you see for Springfield, the certification due date for biennial inventory is May 31st. Your pending resolution, completion of your pending items is August 31st. And again, as a reminder, the system will send automatic emails every month to unit contacts, and 2 months before your certification due date, unit heads will be completed on that email as well. On our next slide, we will talk more about biennial inventory application. You can use the application from your desktop or your laptop. We also have mobile applications where you can download an app to a university-owned tablet and use the tablet. You can share one tablet within multiple roles that are included in performing biennial inventory. The system benefits of using our biennial inventory application is that it creates transparency. It gives you a full detail of your inventory, what needs to be found and certified. It's a great audit trail. When we get audit requests, we can just go to the system, take snapshots and send them to auditors in a clean package. You can update your records in biennial inventory system, and you don't have to toggle between FabWeb or biennial inventory for single assets. You can do that directly through biennial inventory. Biennial inventory is really easy to use. It has smart searches. So if you need to update on any of the attributes, you can use those smart searches instead of trying to figure out what the spreadsheets are for location codes or anything of that nature. Bernadette, next slide, please. Thank you. So in biennial inventory system, your unit contact is the person that is the main role. That person is responsible for biennial inventory cycle from beginning to an end. It's the person that loads the inventory. It's the person that assigns a unit specialist role if one is necessary. That person also reviews the status and manages the entire process. Your unit contact also reviews the changes made to records, and if they see that those are proper changes, they will approve them and push them to banner so they take place in banner. Unit contact is also the person that will certify biennial inventory. Once they certify that, that certification is routed to the unit head for approval. Unit contact is also responsible for making sure that all those pending items, if any items have been marked pending, are resolved before that completion due date. And on our next slide, We have added some new system functionality, so it's easier to tell if those pending items have been resolved, how they have been resolved, and which ones are left to yet be resolved. Unit contact, again, is the one who will go into that page and will attest that all of those items that have been marked pending unfound have been resolved. And once they do that, that status of the unit will change from certified to completed. And again, by those pending resolution due dates, your unit should be in completed status. And on our next page, you'll see that we have a lot of resources. Unit contact has to take the unit contact certificate course before they can be assigned a role. We have online instructor-led training for biennial inventory. You see the next dates listed there. We offer the training pretty much every other month until probably next August or so. So please sign up, take advantage of those online instructor-led trainings. And on our next page, we also list our biennial inventory equipment management webpage. We have policy when it comes to biennial inventory, so please review those at your convenience. And we have online training guides available to folks 24/7. We have participants guide that we'll use during the online instructor-led course. And we also have guides for your tablets if you choose to use one. And at this point, I will turn it back to Jeff for some more updates.
Thanks, Magdalena. Great job. I will just give one warning about the due dates to units. Don't wait for the last minute to try to do those, right? We see a lot of units doing that. Wait for a day before the cycle close date to try to resolve all their pending items. To resolve pending items oftentimes takes disposals, which must be approved by either your unit approver or sometimes gets escalated to your unit head if those are material or significant. So really do want to caution and make a strong recommendation to try to resolve all those pending items as soon as possible in that pending resolution window of 3 months and not wait for the last day or the last week or even the last month. So kind of a beg from our office because when the system closes, that's the data that's closed at the end of that cycle. And that's what we have to share with the auditors as far as the results of the cycle. So appreciate doing it early and often. So thanks. Going to wrap up with some equipment management updates. There are some updates going into FabWeb relative to electronic surplus disposals. The go live for this update is expected to be next week, October 4. What we've done is eliminated some of the drop down options and made those consistent for the actual data elimination so that those options are consistent with the current university scrub label, which should be affixed to all the IT equipment needing data wiping. So normally your IT pros doing that data wiping should be affixing that university scrub label, picking the option they chose and how they removed the data on that. And so those drop downs are now going to be consistent with that new scrub label. We've also removed a couple of fields in there to make it a little easier for the FabWeb unit rep and the IT pro. We're no longer asking for CPU speed or condition of those items. That saves on some form entry, but one thing I wanted to note was if your unit does use the batch upload process for surplus disposals, because of those data changes, your old files will blow up or error out. So please use the new template and the new job aids that will be posted out on the BuzzFin website when that new functionality goes live. And just as an informational point, announcements will be sent directly out to the FabWeb unit reps when that functionality goes live, so they have all that information. So you could advance that, Bernadette, appreciate it, thanks. Just wanted to also mention some upcoming policy updates. We're scheduled to do all of our property policies updated this fall of 24 to get our policies up to the university standard format and content. We do expect shortly to have an equipment trade-in policy. to come out. As I mentioned in those recurring audit findings, we do have some recurring issues with inappropriate trade-ins and the inappropriate really the lack of documentation of those trade-ins and the timeliness of processing those. So look for new policy on that, and I'm sure Zach or Brian will be mentioning that later. But just did want to mention the larger policy revisions we'll be doing. We'll be doing some updates to new acquisitions and other policies just for clarity and to really put some time frame expectations into those policies. A lot of that data already exists in web pages or training, but we're going to move that to policy so it's a little more apparent to all unit readers. As well as we're hoping in winter of 25, some of this will lag out, but to really have a new fabricated equipment policy, as well as a year-end new acquisitions processing policy. So look for that coming in the fall and winter. If you can advance that again, Bernadette, thanks. So just wanted to really present here our contacts. If you have questions for biennial inventory, it's a short list: Magdalena, myself, and Juana Rodriguez, but you'll get these slides, so feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Really don't hesitate to do that, better than eternally web searching something, I think. But really with that, we'll finish up and certainly take any questions in chat, and otherwise, really thanks for your attention to equipment and the timely completion of the biennial inventory. Thanks.
Do you have one? Oh, sorry, Magdalena, were you going to say something? I didn't mean to speak over you. We did have one question in the chat that says compliance would be better if threshold was increased. 2,500 is too low. Any chance we could get that increased?
You know, if I had say so in it, yeah, the university's been trying to up the threshold to what is the capitalization threshold of 5,000 forever. And I think we've been pretty fortunate to get from those who haven't been around that long. It used to be $500, then it went to 1,000 and was, you know, a year and a half ago or so moved to 2,500. I don't expect, given that past recent increase from 1,000 to 2,500, that was all the legislators and CMS would agree to. I don't see that increasing really to the capitalization threshold anytime in the near future, but I'm sure the university will continue to politic and ask for those increased thresholds, especially if we see some increase in maybe some of the federal tracking limitations, which I think are under discussion at the federal level. So we'll see if that maybe sways the state's perspective on that or not. But I can guarantee my office and the rest of the systems office administration will be continuing to politic for increased equipment thresholds. So thanks, Rich. Appreciate the question.
That was the only question I saw so far, but if we get any more, we'll definitely send those your way, Jeff and Magdalena. So thank you so much for your time. I know how much work this is because I've helped out a tiny little bit. So this is quite a mountain that you guys have to climb. So thank you for coming and sharing this with us.
Sure, Stacy. I do see one more in there. I got a question about heard of the Fab Web Plus app to track equipment under 2,500. I thought it'd be a great opportunity to clarify. You know, that's really a UIUC campus app, not really managed by our office. And when that is a fine application, and it can be used to help you track your items under 2,500. And they've somewhat integrated that with Fab Web so that it can read Fab Web data. So, you know, that is an option for folks. I think if you're trying to and struggling tracking items under 2,500 and you want to spend more time tracking them, that Fab Plus, I think it's just called Fab Plus, is an option for you now at UIC and UIS. But again, not really a systems office application run by our office. So questions on that should be geared towards, you could do a web search on that. I believe they have their own page as to how to get that application and do a memorandum of understanding to get access to it. So hope that helps in clarity.
Other questions? Okay, well, thank you again, Jeff and Magdalena, for your time. Next, we're gonna hear from my office, the Business and Finance Policy Office, with my colleagues, Brian Zump and Zach Langheim. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully this works. So are you guys seeing just the first slide?
It looks good, Stacy.
Okay, perfect. So, thank you for having us today. We in the policy office are excited to share some updates that we have with you. We have 4 updates and 1 announcement. Over the summer, we've been pretty busy trying to make the policy office and the policy process clearer and more user-friendly for you. We're in the process of updating how policies are laid out. We have hopefully made the policy recommendation process just that little bit easier. We've changed the open comment process and we've updated our office email. And finally, we wanted to let you know about an opportunity to join the policy advisory group to give feedback on policies and process and provide input on business and finance policies as a whole. So I'm now going to turn things over to Brian to discuss our first 2 agenda items.
Thank you, Stacy. As part of the Business and Finance website updates, we in the Policy Office wanted to refresh how policies are laid out to bring related information up front rather than forcing users to scroll to the bottom to get relevant information. And as you can see from this screenshot, the related policies and procedures, additional resources, and publication and update information are now right at the top of the page for easy reference, and the layout matches the other sites on the Business and Finance website. Currently, the only ways to share thoughts on policies are 1, via open comments, 2, emailing the policy office directly, or 3, via a rather lengthy word-based form on our website. We wanted to make the process for our customers, both within the subject matter expert offices and within departments themselves, to provide policy feedback easier. And so we've created an online form that will allow you to identify which policy you are referencing or provide space to recommend a needed policy, what change or creation is needed, and any other pertinent information. This form will automatically route to the policy office's email inbox to allow us to review and attend to these without you needing to download the Word form, fill it out, save it, and email it as an attachment back to us. Please note that it's not required that you use this form, and you can still email us directly, call us IM, etc. We just wanted to add this to provide a more formalized process that for those that would like to utilize it. Please do take advantage of this for any policy thoughts, comments, questions, and even frustrations you have. We want the Business and Finance Policy Manual to be clear, concise, and useful, and this form will give you the opportunity to let us know if we're not meeting on that commitment. I'll now walk you through the new site, and Stacy's got the live screen up. So first, we ask you to identify the policy that you're wishing to comment on. If a policy doesn't exist, please provide a recommended name. You'll let us know if this is a new policy or a requested revision to a policy. And next, you'll give us the elevator pitch on what needs to change. After that, you'll let us know why this policy needs an update or why a new policy is needed. And finally, we ask you to provide your contact information so we can follow up if we have any questions. If there's someone else you'd like to loop into the discussion, please add them as a unit contact. Knowing your department and which university you work for will help us identify if this is a department or university-specific need, or if this is something that should affect the entire system. Note, however, that submitting a recommendation does not mean that the recommendation will be adopted, but we will investigate the recommended change, follow up with you to get more info if needed, and discuss the topic with subject matter experts and other relevant offices. After all of those discussions and research have taken place, then we'll make a determination about whether or not the change needs to be made now, if it can wait until the regular review of the policy as a whole, or if the change shouldn't be made at all. In all cases, we'll respond to you with our determination and the reasons for it. I'll now turn over things to my colleague, Zach, who will give you updates on the open comment process, as well as share our new email address with you.
Thanks, Brian. Just before the summer, we emailed you with information on the new open comment layout, but we just wanted to take a moment to share with you the layout so that you can see the additional functionality that we've added to this process. One of the additional functionalities includes liking a comment or directly replying to a comment thread. So now, as Stacy shows you, I'm going to show you how to submit an anonymous comment. So to create a new comment, you want to click anywhere in the Write Your Comment section that Stacy is showing on the screen. So it says Test Comment here. And doing so will open up a text box that you saw on the screen. And then you can type your comment in the space provided. And from here, you can write your thoughts and opinions on the draft policy and provide valuable feedback. Once you've added your feedback, click into the name field. You can type anonymous, a period, or really anything. Please keep in mind that our office wants open and honest feedback. We understand business offices are the front lines of customer service and we want to serve you. So as a result, you are not required to provide your name, email address, or any other identifying information under the name section. And so then you can post your comment, and once you post it, it'll show up on the screen, and your comment can then be liked or reviewed accordingly. Yep. And so also something that we've been doing is, as OBFS has been reorganized and the term no longer exists, we have created a new email address to reach out to the policy office. It's bizfinpolicyoffice@uillinois.edu. We in the office have gone live with this email address back on September 1st. We plan to begin replying to policy questions exclusively from this email address. So don't be surprised if you receive an email back from us at this address. This will allow us in the office to see all of the emails that have gone out and organize the emails. This way, we can back each other up in the event someone's out of the office on vacation or out sick. Our previous email address was more of a listserv, and as a result, was much more difficult to manage. We hope that this will ensure consistency from our office and give you a single email address to use to reach out to all three of us in the policy office. I'll now turn it over to Stacy to discuss the policy advisory group.
So I'm excited to announce that we are about to start the solicitation process for our third cohort of the Policy Advisory Group, or PAG. This is a group of departmental customers who meet with the policy office to provide feedback on policies. Currently, the PAG meets every other Friday morning, but our first meeting of the new cohort will decide what frequency and what day and time works best for everyone in the group. We try to cap the membership at 10 members total, with roughly 3 members from each university. The goal is to keep it small enough that all members have the opportunity to participate. But we want equal representation from Chicago, Springfield, and Urbana-Champaign. The PAG reviews policies and process before they go out for open comment, and they read those with a customer-focused eye. So will this policy work? What questions will faculties, deans, or directors ask you? Will there be pushback? If so, on what sections? Does this change or this new policy make your life easier or much more difficult? While some changes may be mandatory due to legislation or system constraints, we do strive to draft workable policies for you in the departments. The PAG also participates in the annual review process. This is a process whereby the policy office, the relevant subject matter experts, and the PAG review a policy in its entirety. So the open comment that you just saw for section 13, that's entire section 13, that's part of the open comment. So we look at it, does anything need to be updated? Has there been new legislation that needs to be reflected in the policy? Is there new system functionality? For example, when we change to Chrome River or Contract Plus, is there a new feature in iBuy that's being used? Does any language need to be cleared up? Is it just confusing? Anything like that, we just take a look at the whole thing. And then finally, we ask the PAG to let us know about policies that have been difficult to enact within your units. Do you get constant pushback from your faculty or your deans or directors on a policy? Is a policy confusing and you just don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to do? Are we missing anything? This is where we really get a lot of good information to help us make these policies more useful. So we expect to send solicitation emails out next week. The application process will be open for 2 weeks. For cohort 3, all PAG members must be alumni of the Certified Business Administrator program that just closed earlier this year. It's gonna look different next year because I know they've gotten rid of the certification part, but for this cohort, we still need CPA alums, but moving forward, we're gonna look at how we're gonna do that moving forward. The application process consists of a survey that asks for your name, email, affiliation, meaning department, and what university you're from, as well as gives you an opportunity to let us know why you'd like to serve on the PAG. It also gives you the opportunity to request a meeting with somebody from the PAG office, so me, Brian, or Zach, to discuss the PAG more in depth. They give you an opportunity to ask us any questions so that you can decide, yep, this sounds great, I definitely want to be a part of PAG, or oh no, that's not what I thought it was going to be, please, withdraw my application. And then after that application process closes, the policy office is gonna look at all the applications and we'll select the members of it, keeping in mind that we want to have a good breadth of experience and a good spread of departmental types. So please don't think you have to have 10 or more years in a business office to apply. We want to have newer business office employees give feedback from a new hire's perspective. But we also want representation from those business unit employees who've been here for a very long time, because they have historical information. They might be able to say, hey, well, when the policy was live, 5 years ago, it had this information in it, and that was really helpful, and then it went away, and we don't understand why. So having that history is also very helpful. And then people who kind of fall in the middle, that's useful for us. We also want to be sure we're not just having academic departments in the PAG. We want auxiliary departments such as, facilities and services, the student unions, the clinical side of the medical school for Chicago, and academic departments too, but we don't want it to just be one or the other, because again, we want to ensure that we're drafting policies that work for all different types of departments at the university system. So again, that will go out next week. Be on the lookout for that. So does anyone have any questions for us right now? I'm just going to open the chat really quickly. Okay, well, if you do have questions or you think about them later, please feel free to use our new email address, bestfinpolicyoffice@uillinois.edu. And thank you for your time today. So now I'm going to stop sharing, give it back to Bernadette. This is where I would normally thank the presenters, but I'm not going to thank myself because that's why we're here to thank our office. So I'm going to turn things over to Ann Larimore and Connie Langley from UAFR with an update on Banner Fund program and index code and request forms.
Thank you, Stacy. And I'm going to actually share my screen. Let me share, so hopefully you all can still see it. Let me pull up this. So hi, everyone. I am Ann Larimore from University Accounting and Financial Reporting. I'll let Connie introduce herself. Oh, I think you're muted, Connie.
Thank you. I'm Connie Langley, Financial Accounting and Reporting Specialist in University Accounting and Financial Reporting.
Yeah. And we are here today to talk about the Banner Fund Program Index Code, or we like to call it the FPI request form. This is the form that you use when you are requesting new funds, like your self-supporting fund, gift funds, custodial funds, or if you're requesting new unique departmental program codes. Those are the program codes that start with the first 3 digits of your org, or if you're requesting new index code. Today, we're mostly going to focus on those unique departmental program codes. So the first tab of the FPI form has these sections on it. So the FPI code request tab has a heading section, general information, the fund code section, the program code section, index code section, and submitted by section. And I'm going to let Connie walk us through each of these sections and show an example of what we would kind of expect, as well as give some tips for what we're looking for in these sections.
Okay, so the first section is the heading of the form, and you will notice in the upper left-hand corner is the version. We use an RPA bot to data enter the information from this form into Banner. So we can only accept the most current version of the form. So you can pull that off of the Business and Finance website. So always go there to check to make sure you are using the most current version. We do update this form. Sometimes it's multiple times a year. So just always check that before just completing one that you might have saved on your desktop. The next section here is list the email. So the first email address, uas@uillinois.edu, is the email address that you will send most CFOP requests to. However, if you are requesting a gift or endowment fund, those have to go to the foundation first. So you will use a different email address. There is also a link there to the Who to Ask section of our website. On that website is a search function that you can type in a few words of whatever the topic is you're looking for, and it will pull up who the appropriate contact is within UAFR in that section. The next section is the general information. This section must be completed for all request types. So whether you're requesting a fund, a program code, or an index code, you have to complete the general information section. So the first question is the chart. The second one would be your location. Third is going to be your 3-digit org code and title. And we request that you not use acronyms when listing your title. Although you may know what the acronym stands for, it isn't always common knowledge for our unit. And we have certain units that there are certain nuances that we are aware of, and it helps to have the full unit name listed there. Then the next section is you will indicate whether you need a fund, program, or index code, or sometimes all three. And the form was updated fairly recently so that depending on what you select here, it will highlight the sections of the form that must be completed in blue. So to make it a little bit easier so you know which sections of the form have to be completed since it is used for multiple functions. The next section is the reason for your request. In this section, we request that you provide as much detail as possible to explain what the program code is used for. This helps prevent a lot of the back and forth conversations to determine what the activity is. Some of the sections on this form have additional information. So if you hover over the field, the blue field, you will receive a pop-up. So that's what that yellow box is down there. Not all the fields have it, but if you hover over the field, you may receive that to provide additional information on what we're looking for in that section. The next section, question 6, is to indicate where the funding for the program code is coming from. So for example, if it's coming from budget transfers, sales revenue, ICR funds, we would just ask that you indicate that in that box. If you know it, it's also good to provide an estimated dollar amount for the funding as well. If during review of the form, we determine that the activity crosses multiple NACUBO functions, having the dollar amount can sometimes let us know whether or not the activity is material and if additional program codes may be needed. Next is the description of expenses. So here you need to provide a description of what the expenses are for, along with examples. This a lot of time we need a detail. So just indicating salaries doesn't provide much information to us to determine what the NACUBO function is. And the expenses is what drives really the NACUBO function. We also ask that you include the primary functional purpose of the expenses, as that will help expedite the request. The NACUBO function is important for financial reporting. It is also critical for determining F&A rate calculations. When reviewing that section, between the information provided in the expenses as well as determining the dollar amount, if you've provided that information to us, we'll determine, excuse me, if expenditures clearly have different functional purposes and the dollar amount is material, we will request that you establish multiple program codes to ensure that the expenditures are properly classified. The next section is for a fund code. You would need to complete all questions in this section if a fund is being requested. Then in addition, depending on what type of fund you need, you may need to complete additional tabs of the FPI form. As we mentioned, we're focusing on the program codes, so you will notice that all the fields here are white rather than blue, because focusing on the program codes, you would not complete anything in this section. The next section is the program code. So for question 1, you need to list the fund code that the program code will be used with. So 1025 if it's a state fund, 200, 250 if it's ICR. Do not enter new here because we will have to follow up to find out what fund you will be using the program code with. Question 2, list the requested title for the program code. Ensure that the title is clear and that it indicates what the expenses posting to the program code are for. Whenever possible, we request that the NACUBO function be listed in the title when space allows and when it makes sense. So if a program code is for research, we like to see research included in that title. Question 3 is where you will select the NACUBO function that describes the activity that is occurring. You can see explanations of the NACUBOs in the overview of Banner program codes and NACUBO functions document, which is available on the UAFR website. You also need to ensure that the NACUBO selected is allowed to be used with the fund code that you've indicated will be used with the program code. And you can confirm that by looking at the NACUBO function and allowable fund type combinations grid, which is also located on our website. And if you're unsure of what the NACUBO should be, you can always reach out to us in UAFR. Question 4 is going to be where you will provide the UIN and the name of the Fund Manager and GLDC. You can enter multiple GLDCs. You can also enter a PI and a co-PI. And it's a good idea to make sure that whoever is listed as a Fund Manager has knowledge of the program code and the activity that is being recorded to that program code. Because if we have questions, the Fund Manager is the individual that we will be reaching out to for additional information. The next section of the form is the index code. An index code can be requested with a fund or program code, or it can be requested after the fact. An index code is a 6-digit alphanumeric code that can be used to save keystrokes and prevent error in Banner. So by entering a chart and the 6-digit index code number, Banner will then populate the remaining portion of the CFOBs based on how you set up the index code. So question 1, if you have a specific index code number that you want to use, you would enter, the first 3 digits are always going to be the same as the OR code. You would then indicate the last 3 digits based on whatever you wanted them to be. If you don't request one, we will assign the next numeric sequence based on what has previously been established for your unit. Question 2 will be the title. That is typically the same as the program code that is associated with the index code. And then question 3 is where you will provide the CFOP segments that correspond with the index code. So you can enter as many of those segments as you want. We typically see the fund code, org code, and program code selected, but that is not a requirement. You can enter whichever segments you want associated with that index code. And then the last section of the form is submitted by, and this also must be completed for all CFOP segments, regardless of what you're requesting. So you'll enter the name, phone number, email address, and date for the individual who is completing the form. So if we have questions, we can reach out to you to get additional information. Any of the email addresses that are listed here will receive the notification once your CFOP segment is established. And those emails are sent out automatically based from the RPA bot. So please ensure that your emails are accurate, as if they're rejected, they're most likely will not be followed up on, and then you won't receive your notification. And I will turn it back over to Anne.
Thanks, Connie. Yeah, I have a couple more slides that just have tips and what we're looking for. So tips for completing the FPI form. The first 2 bullet points I know Connie touched on. So completely and clearly answer each relevant question. So again, there's conditional formatting on the form. If you're requesting a program code, it'll highlight blue. So complete all of those questions and make sure you're providing as much data or detail as possible. This helps prevent follow-up questions. Use complete sentences in the general information section. So those questions 5, 6, and 7, we will, I don't want to say often, but we will get requests occasionally that say, you know, we're like, what is the funding source? And it just says budget. And we need more information than that. Is it state budget? Is it ICR budget? What kind of budget is it? If you are using acronyms, spell out the acronym. You know your activity very well. We here at UAFR do not necessarily know your activity, so always spell out any kind of acronyms. Connie touched on this, so using descriptive and clear titles, and if it makes sense and there's space available, including the NACUBO function. So the example she walked through had research within the title. And then avoiding abbreviations and titles when space allows. So for program code requests, there's 35 characters. Let's use as much space to describe the activity when allowed. And then our top 5 things that may delay your program code request. So number 1, using an outdated form or reusing an old form from a previous request. So Connie mentioned the RPA bot uses our most recent version of the form. That's how it knows how to read it and to data enter stuff into Banner on our behalf. So if you're using an outdated version of the form, we're going to ask you to move it over to the newest version. Or if you're reusing an old form, there are hidden tabs within the form that the RPA bot reads. And so we will be able to see from those hidden tabs that it is a old form because there will be sections filled out already. So if you're using an old form or outdated form, it's going to delay your request. Please always pull the newest version from our website. Not enough detail provided in responses for questions 5, 6, and 7. Again, as much detail using full sentences as possible. Unclear or non-descriptive titles. There's, again, 35 characters in the title. We try to make it as descriptive as possible. We have certain departments do not want their titles to be updated. They are very specific on their titles, and we have other departments that do not have those kinds of concerns, but we always like to check with you before updating a title or making a suggestion for a title. So that process may delay your request. Misunderstanding of code terminology and completing incorrect fields of the request form. So there was a weekly tip, which I believe is the next slide, that went out recently on this. We do get requests that say, I need a new ICR fund, or I need a new state fund, and the fund section is completed and the program code section is not. So just knowing the terminology to know that you need an ICR program code to use with the ICR fund, those kinds of nuances. And then putting new in the fund used with program code field on a new program code request. You would really only put new on there if you're requesting a self-supporting fund where we are setting up a program code in addition to the self-supporting fund. Otherwise, we will need to know that fund number in that field. So, you know, whether it's a state fund, ICR fund, we'll need you to put that information in there. Here is our weekly tip that was sent out a few weeks ago, I believe. So there's a screenshot of it here, as well as a link to the communication provided. Quick plug on our UAFR weekly tips. If you're not yet signed up for them, please go out and sign up for them. They are very resourceful. They have a lot of information that are sent out every week, usually on Wednesdays. And then here are our resources. So just the Banner CFOPL accounting string website on the Business and Finance webpage. This is the overview of Banner program codes and NACUBO functions. It has a definition for each of the NACUBO functions. That grid that Connie was talking about, this is an Excel that shows you what NACUBO functions are allowable on what fund type. So, you know, what NACUBO functions are allowed on a 2C ICR fund type. The request form itself, and then our who to ask. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Are there any questions right now? Not seeing any, I don't think it's chat.
Sure. If any come about, we'll definitely send those your way and let you guys know about that. But thank you so much for this presentation. I think I found it very helpful, and I don't even do that very often. So thank you, Amy and Connie. And so lastly, we're going to hear from Nadia Torrance from Procurement Diversity with updates and a vendor introduction for RK Management Consultants Incorporated. So take it away, Nadia.
Thanks, Stacy. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a while. Welcome back. Thanks for joining the call. My name is Nadia. For those who don't know, I'm with the Office of Procurement Diversity. I serve as the Business Operational Specialist, where we oversee vendor diversification and are committed to establishing an equitable environment to help businesses owned by minorities, women, persons with disabilities, and qualified veterans. So today we have on this call who I would like to introduce. Her name is Mimi Ibong, and she is from RK Management Consultants, where they tailor towards industry specializations in such as retail, healthcare, medical, technology, and more. So I am going to hand the mic over to her and let her dive a little bit more into detail about her services. Thank you.
Hi guys. I don't need to keep my video on. I do think we have a presentation as well. Did you guys want to share that? Perfect. Wonderful. Thank you. And I also have a colleague, Andre, with me here. Andre, are you with us?
I am, and I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm just getting over laryngitis right now.
Yeah, he was quiet for a week, but he's back today. So we're going to tag team on this and talk. But thank you guys, first of all, for having us. We're super excited to partner with you and to talk a little bit about who we are. Both Andre and I are local to Chicago, so hopefully we'll get to meet you guys in person one day. But for now, yeah, let's get going. We can go to the next slide. Andre, I'll let you start us off here.
Absolutely. Today we put together a brief presentation and an agenda to discuss things like our company history, our capabilities, our clients' certifications, and definitely our success stories. So if you can go to the next slide. RK Management Consultants, which I will refer to as RKMC, was established 36 years ago as a technology consulting firm by our owner, Raj Khanna. He started doing consulting for companies like Arthur Andersen before they became Accenture, Harris Bank when they merged with BMO, and United Airlines, and realized that there was a dramatic need for what we know now as AI. He was doing machine learning and AI back in the 80s. So we were founded in 1987 and incorporated in 1988. We have two offices located here in Oak Brook Terrace, Illinois, and also Minneapolis, but we service nationwide. We're also international with offices in Canada and New Delhi, India, with about 120 employees on staff, and revenue of about $13 million. Next slide.
Andre mentioned a couple of these things, but I'll provide a little bit more background. So as Andre said, about 36 years ago in 1988, we were founded by Raj, who is still our founder today. We see him often here in the office. It's pretty cool to be able to interact and get guidance and advice from the person who actually made this all come to life. In 1997, we established the Oak Brook office, actually the same building we're in today. If any of you guys are local to the western suburbs, we're in the one tower here in Oak Brook. So it's not as cool as being in the city, but we are on the 25th floor, so it's pretty cool. We have a lot of clients out here as well. I think a lot of people, especially during COVID, kind of moved out here and work from home. So we love being out here. In 2004, we were certified as a minority-owned business, and we still are today. 2012 and 2017, as Andre mentioned, we expanded beyond the US with offices in Canada and India, and we run very much today by a global model, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about our diversity and focus on that. And in 2020, we became a certified woman-owned business, which also we still are today, which we'll talk about. And in 2021, which is not on here, but we're going to talk about it, we were awarded the IFEC contract, which obviously allows us to work with you guys in university systems within technology. So that's another important date that Andre will touch on a little bit later. And we can go to the next slide. So here's our leadership team, Andre and I at the bottom. We kind of head up sales, and we're also the DEI champions. So that's why we work with Ronnie and Nadia. And they so kindly invited us to talk about our company today here. Nidhi and Natasha run the company today. So that's why we're women and minority owned. Raj is their father, and he's the one who started the company 36 years ago. We all work as a very close team. We're all local here to Chicago. But that's kind of who heads up the company today. I'll let Andre talk a little bit about our core values.
Absolutely. It's also important to note that both Nidhi and Natasha are U of I alum as well. So
I made a note to say that and I forgot. Thank you.
Just wanted to put that out there. It's good to see that some of our core values align with U of I's core values, especially quality and integrity. But we also rest on 4 additional. Anything that we say that we're going to do, we're accountable for it. We also believe in teamwork, not only internal, but external, which we align our core values with our strategic partners, and we live and breathe them every day. In terms of diversity, we want the workplace to look like the world, so we're big champions in the DEI space. And perseverance, we just don't give up. Once we're giving a task, we see it from the idea to the execution, implementation, into the results. So those are the core values that not only do we breathe internally, but we promote them within our clients as well.
Thank you. So that was a little bit about who we are. And I know the term technology consulting firm or consulting firm in general can be pretty broad. So narrowing down a little bit, I know that many of you guys on here today aren't tech focused, but the bulk or core of our business is within technology. That doesn't mean that we only work with technology companies, but the services we offer often fall into that category. We work both with enterprise level as well as government and state clients here in Chicago and across the country. With our offices in India and offshore, we're also, as we mentioned earlier, able to support our clients from a worldwide and offshore perspective. Within technology, our core 3 pillars, if we had to provide 3, would be application development, so software development and the kind of that type of stuff, both front end and back end, cloud and digital transformations, as well as cybersecurity. A couple of other ones that are listed here: IT project management, ERPs, not necessarily only in one ERP, but we're agnostic in that regard. Business analysis, Agile, Scrum, you may have heard of, and DevOps. On the business professional side, we also do categories such as marketing, legal, finance, and this could either be in a more of a staff aug model where we provide a one-off resource, or it could be through like an RFP or some of the projects that you guys mentioned earlier today in this meeting, where we bid for an entire project and run it. I think you can move to the next slide.
And Nadia mentioned some of the industries that we specialize in. We're pretty industry agnostic, but these are some of the ones that we're currently working within our customer base on: technology, financial services, healthcare. And just in the past 3 to 5 years, we've been really focusing in the SLED, so government, state, local, and also education. Next slide. These are just some of the clients that we're supporting right now. Clients like Baxter, Discover, IBM, the state of Illinois, Guitar Center, UL Solutions. And I want to draw out Best Buy because it's the client that we've had the longest history. And Mimi's going to mention some of our success stories, but I wanted to bring up Best Buy and our success story. For anyone who knows that company may not know that they're like within the top 5 retailers in the United States. And if you've ever had a phone or known someone who's activated their phone within the store, our KMC partnered with Best Buy to create that technology. So we're extremely proud of that. And not only that, the e-commerce site that people are shopping, I know that Amazon days are coming up. I know that the holidays are coming up. If you go onto bestbuy.com and utilize that platform, we also help build that technology as well. So I just wanted to point those two things out as a humble brag for not only our capabilities, but something that we're extremely proud of as a company. Okay, we can go to the next slide. And we mentioned our certifications. We are woman-owned, we're minority-owned. We also have DBE certifications. We're certified by the state of Illinois in the Business Enterprise Program. Those are some of our partnerships as well. And the last thing at the bottom is something that we're extremely proud of. SIA is the governing body for the staffing industry. And for the past 3 years, we have been named the best staffing firm to work for our category 3 years in a row. And that is not only a testament to our team, but some of the people that we have on the locations and different assignments, reaching out to SIA and helping us achieve that accolade. So I just wanted to point that out. Next slide, please. So I know Mimi had talked about this contract. In July 2021, we were one of the vendors awarded the IPHEC 2140, allowing us to partner with the 13 universities and the 41 junior colleges within the state of Illinois in these particular categories. So that's just one of the ways that we can partner with U of I. And I just found out today from Mimi that we were approved as a vendor through the iBuy portal as well. So those are 2 ways that if there are needs that arise either on a staff augmentation side or a project-based solution side, we can work with you under these 2 particular programs.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
So as Andre mentioned, we do both, or I kind of talked about it a little bit too. We do both the staff aug piece where we may place one contract resource for an implementation or upgrade or something that you do on the finance side or in procurement. I know that Danielle, you mentioned a couple of your upcoming projects. So we certainly do that, but we also do some project work. And I understand, consulting firm, staffing firm, it's kind of thrown out in a variety of ways. So I did want to highlight, in addition to Best Buy, which Andre mentioned, the work we've done that with their in-store application and their e-commerce piece, that we've also had some successes among other clients. on a more large scale project, which may translate to some of the initiatives that you guys see come through at the scale that a university system may expect it to come in at. So for a Fortune 100 insurance provider, we supported them in a very big cybersecurity project. As I mentioned before, cyber is one of our core pillars. So we do a lot of security work. We have SMEs in several subject matter experts in a lot of these areas. So no matter kind of what the client throws at us, we can come in and put together a team quickly that is able to support the client, whether it's here or offshore. Our offshore team and efforts were bigger during COVID when it mattered less where people were located, but it's still an offering that provides us the opportunity to kind of offer a global model to partners who appreciate that. We also assisted with the full cloud and digital transformation for a major hospital system. They have over 70 locations and 8,500 employees. And we were able to help them from a cloud perspective to move to the cloud. Something else, I mentioned our ERP skills before, so I know that we are ERP agnostic as a firm. This specific one was an SAP, but we support Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, and we can certainly come in that capacity as well. Lastly, I want to mention that we are also strong in data management, and we did assist a technology firm that we work with in analysis, organizing, sorting, doing a lot of dashboarding and reporting from a BI perspective for them. So that's another kind of larger project that we help the client with. Just to give you kind of some background on some of the projects that we take on and that we help our clients with. We can move to the next slide. Okay, so I don't know how many, actually we can go back one more, sorry. Thank you. I don't know how many of you guys are on the health side here, but we did want to highlight, since one of the partnerships within the university system that we're very excited about is UI Health. We have quite a few healthcare and healthcare institutions as clients currently, so we have a pretty strong background and expertise and experience in that realm. So a couple of the clients that we've supported from a project perspective in healthcare are Baxter, Pfizer, and Patterson. For Baxter, it was more on the security IoT connectivity side, and we filled both technology and professional roles. So even when it's a technology project, it may be that the client needs roles that aren't specific to tech, and we can also support you there. Pfizer, actually they were Hospira at the time, but I probably know them as Pfizer. We did technology and life sciences consultants work for them. We focused very much in regulatory remediation and compliance. Another thing to highlight is Patterson Companies. We are, as Andre mentioned, we have a presence in Minneapolis as well. So we work heavily with them there. And they actually, to this day, utilize our organization, our KMC, as a supplier to help with recruitment, placement, and management of resources, basically for all IT verticals, but also customer service and professional roles there. Andre, feel free to chime in if I missed anything here. I know this was a very high-level overview.
I think you did extremely well.
Okay, we can move to the next slide. Thank you.
And we just wanted to show this chart. We're not going to go line by line, but when we receive either a rec or a project, we complete several steps that we go through. There's a database of over 50,000 candidates and consultants that we will search through to find the right person for the role, but most of our team internally are either technologists or come from the corporate world like Mimi and I. But we thoroughly vet the candidates before they're presented to any of our clients. We also have a second set of eyes look at them, and those are our subject matter experts who will give them a rigorous test, either behavioral or a technology test or both before submission. And in most cases, depending upon the complexity of the role or the project, we will turn that around between 24 to 48 hours. But if it's a project, we will deliver a health scope between 72 hours to a week. And you can go to the next slide.
So this is us. Andre and I were obviously here today. Nidhi had another meeting, so we decided that 2 was enough. Nadia Torrance is kind of our point of contact, obviously. Oh, Andre's here too. Obviously, as I said, with us being local, we're here. We are, as you know now, a woman and minority-owned firm. I know that to us, this kind of partnership is really special with our owners, Nidhi and Natasha, being U of I alums, and with us kind of aligning on a lot of our core values and the things that we offer. If you need anything, this is our information. Please use it or reach out. But you can also obviously use the diversity office as a liaison to connect with us if anything comes up, even if it's an exploratory conversation, to kind of see, is this something that you do? We're here. We would love to talk to you. And we'd love to also open it up for questions to see if you have anything to ask us. You can move to the next slide. I think it just says thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm not seeing any questions right now. Andre, you did well, having just gotten over laryngitis. I've had it and it is brutal, so.
Yeah, we forced him not to talk. It was not good.
Yeah, I've had it before and it's hard on somebody who's a talker, so
Exactly.
you did beautifully, Andre. And also it's very exciting to see our alums with the president and vice president sort of going out there and doing incredible, amazing things. That's always very exciting to see. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. That's also very exciting. You guys it sounds like you guys do great work. So thank you for taking the time to come and meet with us. And thank you, Nadia, for inviting our KMC to come talk to everybody. I don't see any questions in the chat. If we have any, we'll send them to Nadia to send them your way. So thank you again, and I hope you have a beautiful day up there in Chicago. I'm down in Urbana, so it's a little.
Thank you, guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, and I would just like to thank all of our presenters today. There was a wealth of wonderful information shared by everybody. Thank you to everyone, all the participants for coming today. We really do appreciate your time. We know how valuable it is, and for you carving out an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to come and attend these presentations is very, very much appreciated. And we hope that you found the time well spent and the information useful to you. Just as a reminder, our next meeting is scheduled for November 20th. So please go ahead and put that date on your calendar. And following this meeting, you will be receiving a link to the recorded presentation. Ginger will hopefully be back next time. And I just wanted to thank you, everybody, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.